As per usual, we'll start on our butts in our comfortable seated position, closing our eyes, inhaling deeply through our nose, exhaling from our mouth. Your mind slow down. Bring our focus inward. Begin to connect with how we are feeling right now. Let's do our best to stay within the moment as we practice. Our mat is our safe space. And we'll inhale, lift the hands up high. Exhale, big circles with the arms, bringing them back behind us, opening up the chest, lowering the shoulders. As we inhale, hands come forward and then up. And then exhale, open the chest. Lengthen in the neck. One more time, inhale. Exhale, back and around. And then we'll go the other way. So as we inhale, lifting them up from behind. And then exhale, little round in the back. We bring those hands forward. Inhale, we lift. And exhale, we lower. Last time. Hands can come to our knees, and we'll pull the shoulders back. Lift the heart, lift the chin, little arch in the back. And then exhale, little round, bring the shoulders forward, tuck the chin. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, round. Inhaling, little arch. And exhale, we'll round. And then we'll find ourselves back in the center, lifting the hands up high. Exhale, let's take them over to the right. We can lower that right hand down to the mat, reach up and over with the left, stack the shoulders, and press that left hip down in towards our mat. And now let's take this left hand, we'll bring it down to the floor over here on the right hand side. Little twist in the spine. And then let's slowly walk the hands around to the center. Lengthen on our inhale. Exhale, walk the fingers forward into a fold. Chest can come down low. Drop the head. And then slowly we'll help ourselves back up to the top. Hands come up high. And then we'll work over to the other side. Left hand can find the floor, pressing into the floor with our right hip, reaching with the right fingers, lengthening from the hip all the way up to our fingers, stacking the shoulders. And then let's lower that right hand down to meet its partner over here on the left-hand side. Little twist here. Using our breath, we can lengthen on those inhales. Continue to twist, maybe a little fold on the exhale. And then we'll slowly walk the hands back around to the center. Inhale, we lengthen in that spine. Exhale, let's walk the hands forward. Lower the chest. Drop the head. Good. And then from here, we'll walk those fingers even further. We'll roll over our shins, coming up onto our hands and our knees. Fingers are wide underneath of our shoulders. Knees are hip width apart. Feet can soften. And then let's bring that breath all the way down into our belly, into our sides and our back. Feel our muscles supporting our spine. And then from here, we'll lift up our right hand, reaching out in front of us, bicep to our ear, and then press back with the left foot. Toes point down to the mat. And now, instead of dropping in that low back, let's tilt the pelvis, open up, strong in the tummy. Good. Keeping our backs nice and straight, lowering the hand and the knee back down to the mat. And then we'll inhale, lift the left hand, reaching out in front of us. And then press back with that right heel. Again, if we want, we can use that left hand, kind of touch behind, see if there's space, and if our hips are flat. Keeping that tummy tight, lowering the hand and knee back down to the mat. Again, right hand, left foot. Good. And now this time we'll go into like a little cactus arm, bending the elbow out to the side. We'll bend the knee out to the other side. And then back to our reach in the center. And then exhale, bending out to the side. And then reach. And again, bending out to the side. And reaching long. Good. And back down to our tabletop. Take a breath. And then other side, left hand, right foot. Find that good reach. Strong back, good tight tummy. And then we'll bend that elbow out to the left, bend the knee out to the right, and then out to reach. And then exhale, we bend. And then inhale, we reach. Moving deliberately one more time. Exhale out to the sides. And out to the front and back. Make that good long reach. And then exhale down to our tabletop. Let's take a cat and a cow here. Rounding on the exhale. Arching on the inhale. Good. Back to our tabletop. Good. Now let's take that right leg. We'll step it out in front of us for a little lunge here. We'll keep it outside of the right pinky. Left leg is still back behind us. Toes are soft behind. And we'll sink those hips down. Lift the heart. And then exhale, let's come back to a half split. Bringing those hips over that left knee. Hands can come to the thigh or to the shin, keeping our backs nice and straight as we bring those chests forward. Good, and then inhale, we'll come forward. And then exhale, let's come backwards again. Little split. Good, inhale, coming forward. Find our balance here. We'll bring our hands up to our right thigh. Sink the hips down. Keep good deep bend in the knee. Lift the heart. Begin to pull those shoulders back. And then we'll lift the hands up to the sky. Begin to do a little arch in the back. So if the hands above the head are tough, it's tough on our shoulders, you can always do a cactus arm. Really open up that chest. Hips come forward. Good, and then back up to the top. Our right hand will find the thigh. Left hand is going to reach back. We're going to try and find those left toes. Pull our heel in toward our butt. And then think about this left heel turning forward so that everything is facing the top of our mat. Little trick to help keep our balance. If we start to get wobbly, kick into your hand real hard with your foot. Begins to build up a good dynamic tension within your body. Sometimes it gets rid of some of the shakes. One more breath here. And then we'll release that foot ever so gently. No whacking it on the floor. Hands come down to the mat. And then we can step back for our tabletop again. Give ourselves a bit of a wiggle if we need. And then when we're ready, left foot will come out and it'll step forward into our little lunge. Again, on this side, sinking the hips down, lifting the heart. See if we can soften those shoulders a little bit. If these kneeling exercises hurt our knee, like the kneecap, we can always roll up our mat, give it a couple of extra thicknesses, or if we've got a little pillow or a blanket, we can always put that underneath of our knee. And then when we're ready, let's walk those hands back, come into our half split on this side. Toes point up to the sky. tail is going to point behind us, so we're spilling that pelvis forward. Think about our chin coming towards our toes instead of the top of our head. And then inhale, let's come back to that lunge. And then exhale, let's walk our way back for that half split again. And then inhale, let's come forward. We'll find our balance. We'll bring our hands up to our left thigh as we sink down. This is one of those times where our kneecap might feel a little bit yucky. Do our best to give it a little cushion if we need. And then hands can come up high for a crescent lunge. And then coming back up to the top, our left hand will find the thigh, bending that right foot. We'll reach back with our right hand, do our best to find those toes, and bring the heel in towards our butt, sinking down into that lunge, lifting the heart. Do one more breath here. And then we'll gently lower that foot down. Hands can find the mat. We'll step back and we'll come all the way back to a child's pose. Knees come out wide, toes are together, butts are all the way back to the heels, arms are out in front of us. Chest sinks down in towards our mat. Hands are out in front of us, big starfish, wide fingers. Inhale, let's come up to a little tiny plank. And then we'll exhale, lower ourselves down all the way onto our tummies. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. From here, let's pull those shoulders back, barely touching into our hands. We'll scoop that chest forward using the back muscles, helping ourselves up into a baby cobra. And then exhale, chests come down. Let's tuck those toes from here, press into our hands, and we'll push back into a downward facing dog. Feet are hip width apart, knees are bent, hands are pressing into our mats. We'll pull the shoulders away, lift the tail. And then instead of just sinking into those shoulders, let's pull them back, nice and strong in those shoulders. We can pedal the feet, wake up our calves a little bit, open up behind our legs. And then bending the knees, we're just going to take little tiny steps. Making sure that we put our whole foot on our mats with every step up towards our hands. We'll find our way into a forward fold here. And then hands can come to our shins or to our toes. We'll lengthen in the legs, looking forward, lengthen in the spine. And then exhale, we'll fold. And we'll slowly roll our way up to standing. Hands reach to the sky. And then exhale, let's bring those hands down to our sides for Tadasana. Feeling our feet press into the ground, growing tall, lifting from the top of the head. Good, let's inhale, lift the hands up high. And then exhale, soften the knees, hinge at the hips. Let's fold forward. Inhale to our half lift. And then exhale, we'll fold. And we'll step back for downward facing dog. Both feet walk back, hands are pressing, hips are lifting. Good. Inhale, let's come forward into a plank. Plank can be on our toes this time, or if we need, we can always drop our knees. Good. Exhale, shifting our weight forward. Elbows will come back to our ribs as we lower ourselves down. And then inhale into, we can do a cobra, or we can come up to an upward facing dog. We'll tuck those toes, lift the hips, press into the hands for downward facing dog. And then we'll lift up our right leg. Let's step that buddy forward in between our hands. And then inhale, high lunge. Exhale, let's do a little twist here. We'll take that right hand back behind us. Left hand comes forward, turning to the right. Keep lengthening that left leg, bending the right knee. And then let's come back up to our high lunge. And now let's drop that left heel, and we'll come into a warrior two. Bending in the right knee, opening our hips up, spiraling those thighs away from each other. Let's lengthen in that right leg, shift the hips back behind us, reach forward with our fingers. And then we'll drop into our triangle from here. And slowly, hands come back down for our lunge. Stepping forward with our left foot into our forward fold. Inhale to our half lift. Exhale, we'll fold. Rolling as we rise, all the way up. And then exhale, Tadasana. Take one breath here. And then we'll inhale up. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale to our flat back. Exhale, we'll fold. Take our feet back for downward facing dog. Inhale, let's come forward. Exhale, we'll lower ourselves down. Lower, not droop. Inhale into our choice of back bend. Cobra, upward facing dog. You do Sphinx from here. Let's tuck those toes. Lift the hips, press back for downward facing dog. And we'll lift up that left leg. And we'll step forward into our lunge from here. Find our balance, coming on up to high lunge. And then a little twist on this side. Left hand goes back, right hand comes forward. Feel that right hip want to come forward. That's awesome. Lengthening that spine, keeping our shoulders above our hips. Not reaching, not yet anyway. And then back up to our high lunge. And then we'll turn that right heel down. Open ourselves up for warrior two. Good, and now let's lengthen in that left leg. Shift the hips back toward that right heel. Keep pulling the hips back as we reach forward with the left fingers. Keeping those ribs long. And then we'll just drop the hand. Lift up our right hand. Keep pulling those hips away. And then you'll feel a nice stretch in that left leg. Outer hip on the right side. And then slowly, both hands can come back down to our mats. We'll step forward into our fold. Inhale to a flat back. Long legs. Exhale, let's fold, bending the knees very, very deeply here. Hands find the mat. So our knees can be really, really bended right here. And now from here, we're going to keep that right knee bent, keep the right hand on the floor, begin to lengthen in this left hip. So we'll shift that left hip up, lengthen in the left leg, reach our fingers up high on that left side. Good, and then lower back down, bend both knees if necessary. And then left hand, left foot will stay where they are. Lengthen in that right leg, lift that right hip, lift the right fingers. Hopefully we feel a good outside hip, maybe some IT band. Love. And then slowly we'll soften back down into our forward fold. Bend the knees. We can even release our hands, hold our elbows. Take a little sway or two here. And then release the elbows, bend the knees, roll our way up ever so slowly. We've been upside down for a little bit, so if we go too fast, we may pass out. We would rather not do that. Inhale, hands are high. Good, let's exhale, bring those hands to our hearts. We'll step back with the left foot and we'll open up nice and wide. Toes will point to the corners of our mats. Palms are pressing into each other, pulling the shoulders back, lifting the heart. Now we're going to take this left knee, bend it deeply, and we'll shift over to the left for Skandasana. Right toes can lift up toward the sky. Little side lunge here. Good. And then inhale, we'll come back up to the center. Hands come up over our heads and a wide-legged forward fold here, hinging at the hips. Hands can come down. Drop the head. Then we can even walk those hands backwards in between our legs. Think about shifting our hips forward. We tend to want to do a wide-legged forward fold and sit our butts back away. So let's see if we can bring those hips back over the heels. Ooh. Yes, it makes the fold harder. Yes, we get more benefit out of said fold. Good, let's bend those knees, sitting our butts low, bringing our hands to our thighs. Now, lengthen in that spine. Let's take this right shoulder, dip it down to the center. We'll pull the left shoulder back behind. And then we'll come back to the center here. And then exhale, other side. Left shoulder goes down, right shoulder goes back. Butts are low. Turning those ribs. And back to the center. Let's inhale, hands can come up high. Bringing them together down at our hearts. Find that balance. Now we're going to shift over to the right. So bending that right knee, shifting over for that side lunge on this side. Left toes can point up to the sky. Hearts we want to have pointing forward as best we can. Do one more breath. And then inhale, we'll come up. Woo! Coming up is sometimes harder than going back down. Hands come up high. Good, let's exhale, hinge forward. Good, let's bend those knees. Inhale all the way up to the sky. Good, bring those hands back down to our hearts. We'll point those right toes toward the top of our mat. We'll step forward with the left. Inhale up high. Bring the hands together at the top. Lift with the fingers. Exhale, little back bend here. And inhale, coming up. You can release those hands. Bring the thighs together, sitting down into our chair. Here, let's tilt that pelvis. Get rid of that low back gap. Hands come back for Eddie the Eagle. Good, inhale all the way up high. Let's bring the hands back behind us. We can hold the yoga ball, or we can bring those hands together, pull the shoulders back, lift the heart. Get rid of some of that work that we do on the laptop and the phone. And then we'll release the hands. Come on up to the sky. And exhale, let's fold forward. And let's step back to a downward facing dog. We'll lift up that right leg. And we'll bend the knee, bring it into our chest, shift forward, and we'll set ourselves up for pigeon here. So lowering that right knee behind the right wrist, flexing the foot up here in the front. Then the left leg is just long and soft behind us. But we don't want to let this hip become too soft. We want to pull it forward so that both of our hips are facing in the same direction. After a couple of breaths, if we would like, we can walk those hands forward, bringing the chest along with us as we come down either onto our elbows or maybe eventually all the way down into a fold. But what we don't want, and I've said it a million times, is to curl up into this ball right here. Get that spine nice and long as we fold forward. Keep pulling that left hip forward. I'm super bossy today. And now our choice, as we always have choices here, we can come all the way back up onto our hands so that we can reach that left foot back behind us. Or we can challenge ourselves by staying in the fold and reaching back for that foot. For yet another quad stretch. So pulling the heel in towards our butt, still pulling that left hip forward. And let's let that left foot go. Hands can come underneath of our shoulders again. We'll tuck the left toes behind us, stepping back for a downward facing dog. Pedal the feet. Give our tail a bit of a wiggle waggle. And then we'll lift up the left leg. We'll set ourselves up for pigeon on this side, bringing the knee into our chest and placing it behind its coordinating wrist. Flexing that foot, softening the right foot back behind us, pulling the right hip forward. And then we can gradually settle into whatever variation of this pose we might like to work our way into, lowering down onto our elbows if we would like, or all the way down into a fold. And then we still have that choice on this side. We can come up onto our hands so that we can reach back and grasp those right toes, pull them in toward our butt. Or we can stay folded, however far folded we want to be. Pulling that heel in toward our butt. Our hip is still coming forward. Shoulders opening up. And then we'll gently release that foot. Hands can come underneath of our shoulders. We'll tuck that right toe behind us. Step back for our downward facing dog. Another little wiggle waggle here. Let's walk those feet forward one more time. Into our forward fold. Even from here, we'll just bend the knees, bring the butt low, not even quite even to a malasana squat. We'll just roll up into a little ball here. Tuck the chin. And then with all of the grace that we can muster, which might not be very much, and that's fine too, we're just going to sit down onto our butts. We're going to roll onto our backs, into our little eggs. We're going to hold onto our right shin with both hands. Hug it in tight, tight, tight to our body. And then the left foot reaches up to the sky. And then exhale, we'll just lower that buddy all the way down to our mats. Good. Let's release that right leg. We'll bring it all the way up to the sky. Hands will touch behind the thigh or the knee or the calf. And we'll just so gently encourage that buddy to come on forward towards us. If we need to do a slight bend in that knee, it's totally fine. And what we can do is just maybe do a little bend, pull it forward, and then begin to lengthen. Bend, pull it forward, and lengthen. And now from here, we're just going to take our left hand, touch the outside of that right leg, and our right hand comes in like our thumb will find the crook of that hip. We're going to encourage that hip to come back down because what's going to want to do is hike up into our armpit. So we're going to keep that right hip where it is, and then we're just going to move that foot over the top toward the left, over the top of this left hip. Don't need to go all the way over. What we're trying to do is keep the right hip onto the floor and move the leg over to the side. And then we'll come back to the center. We'll bring the knee into our chest. Left leg can come in too. Join the party. Roll up into our ball. And then we'll move over to the left side. So both hands will hold on to that left shin, pulling it in tightly. Right leg comes up to the sky. And then exhale, we'll lower it down to our mats for wind releasing pose. It's one of my favorite poses. Feels good. It makes me giggle because it's a goofy name. And then we'll release that left leg up to the sky. Just touch behind the thigh or the calf or knee and gently bringing it towards us. If we'd like, we can bend and lengthen. And then the right hand will touch the outside of that left leg. Left hand will come in to that hip. Encourage it to come down. And then we'll gently move the foot over toward the right. May feel continuing lengthen in our hamstring. Maybe we get some IT band in there. And then let's release that leg, bringing both knees into our chest. Maybe we can even give a little wiggle around in those hip sockets. Now let's just lower those feet down to the mat, bending the knees. Feet are all the way up here by our butts. Walk the shoulders underneath of us. We have a nice open chest. Now thinking about tilting the pelvis. And what that will do is it will encourage, the more we tilt, it'll encourage that butt to come up. And then we'll press into those feet. Keep tilting, keep lifting. The hips, the tummy, the chest will all lift up toward the sky. Hands can stay on the ground to our sides, or we can clasp them together underneath. And we can release those hands. If we're holding them, we'll start at the top of our spine and just lower down. One vertebra at a time. Until we get all the way down back to our mat. Take a breath. And then we'll begin to tilt again. Lift ourselves up into our bridge. Think about still moving that tailbone down toward the knees. Think about still moving that And begin at the top of the spine, releasing one vertebra at a time. Down to the mat. Bring our knees into our chest. Roll up into our little ball. Take one more breath in here. Deep inhale. And then exhale. Let's release our legs. And we'll come down for our Shavasana. Find whatever comfortable position we are in, or that we would like to be in for our Shavasana. We close our eyes. We soften our jaw. We relax our tongue. We just let go. Allow ourselves this time to just be. No expectations. Begin to deepen our breath. Slowly we'll wiggle our fingers and our toes. As we gently arrive back into our space. When it is time, there is no rush. Bring our knees into our chest. And roll over onto our side. And help ourselves up to seated. Wherever we land is perfect. take a moment to check in with how we are feeling right now. Do our best to hold on to the feelings that we've built, the connection, the length, the strength, the openness in our bodies, the peace in our bodies and in our minds. We'll inhale, lift our hands up to the sky, we'll bring them together at the top, and then exhale them down to our hearts with gratitude. Give us thanks for all of the gifts that we just gave us. I am grateful and humbled and joyful that you allowed me to help you through your practice today. I hope that you feel even just a little bit better than when you started. And I hope that it is a wonderful beginning to the rest of your day, because from this point on, we are starting completely over. I wish you all a very, very happy day, an open heart, and an open mind. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.